it was uncontrollable. For then I noticed, at the end of the parking lot, was a nigh blown-up septic truck. And I realized that this smear of brown against the hot asphalt all the way to the doors to the store was dried septic fluid.
Oh!
And my nose shriveled and my body shook. And
All right, roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Don't worry, son. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
Oh, wouldn't it be me? I'm only under one influence.
And what would that be?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Welcome back to the Season 2 premiere of Under the Influence. I'm your host, Jude Clay, joined by your co-host, Jerry Craig, and your second co-host, Levi Taster.
Do you want to take a break?
go ahead and say something, guys.
Do you want to take a break for a little while now? You look really
I'm fine.
You look really hurt.
I'm fine.
All right.
I'm surprised you didn't poop yourself right there.
Yeah, man.
I clenched really hard.
Okay. Yeah, welcome back, everybody. It's been so long. We took a whole week off of recording.
An entire week.
An entire week where we didn't record one day for about an hour and a half. We're so excited to be back. Thank you to everybody that listened and has enjoyed so far. We've got some awesome feedback on that season finale. We had a lot of fun recording it. We've got some big stuff planned for season 2. New things, as you'll probably already have noticed. Our podcast cover art has changed. Ooh. Wow. What? We've also, we ended the season with a bang with an awesome guest, but now, season 2, we've got some really cool guests lined up and lots of them. So I hope you're all ready. That's our big thing. We want to have more guests. Also, a little birdie told me that maybe, just maybe, there was a different intro to the podcast. Now, I don't know if that's true. What? You would know better than I would because you just heard it.
What?
But there might be a different intro than you're used to. If not, it's coming.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Shh, quiet. Yeah. Sounds of the city.
Yeah. That's right. You might have just heard the intro, and if you didn't, none of this makes any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there was just some sirens going by.
Yeah, Jude actually got pulled over just now.
Yeah, that's another new thing. Instead of one of our typical 2 studios we record in, we are taking things on the road, and we wanted to really up our game with the on route with Jude segment. And from this point forward, when we do our on route with Jude segments, they'll be live. Well, not live for you, but we will be on route with him in the van.
That's right.
Actually, you know what? That would be kind of interesting, maybe, to record an episode. Maybe
in a
not.
van?
While Jude is doing his delivery.
Just as like a bit, like the 3 of us in the van.
We're sitting in the back with Guy in the chair.
Yeah, in the back of a cargo van. So there's no seats.
Yeah,
Guy in a chair in a van.
Guy in the chair in the van, yeah. One of us gets shotgun. Jude's driving. Whoever's sitting in shotgun has to hold the mic up to Jude so that he can
And we
speak.
just have like a guy with a bag and the microphone running behind Jude while he's doing all of his in-store deliveries and
That'd
shenanigans.
be so
right,
funny.
yeah.
Pretend like it's like a mockumentary show,
Yeah.
like Jude, but it's all audio. Like,
Yeah, it's only audio.
yeah, it's like, what do you do now? Very funny. Your gym moment. You're staring at the microphone.
Oh, he's staring.
Right now, I'm filling a rack full of corn.
Yeah, Jude's still a little lightheaded and energy deprived from
Energy
that intro.
deprived?
Yeah.
You have no idea who you're talking to.
Kind of siphoned you.
No,
No,
no.
that's interesting.
I'm high. I'm as high. I'm as high energy as I've ever been
there you
on
go.
this podcast.
It's probably an important thing to finish the thought of.
I'm high.
I'm as high.
I'm high.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm.
Nice.
Yeah. Very good.
So, Levi,
Yeah.
something interesting happened on
right.
the way here. We just saw you at church, obviously, and then we left. We were, you were leaving church, and like, hey, I'm going to meet you at the recording studio.
Yeah.
And we're like, yeah, we'll be right behind you. We got to stop. The sun is right in your eyes.
Oh yes, it's incredible. This is how it is all D&D as well.
Oh, that's pretty terrible.
It's pretty great.
Well, not all. For like the first part of, right? Probably most of it because we started
Most
like,
of it,
yeah,
yeah.
that's pretty terrible. No, on the way here, Jude and I had to stop at one of the stores that we, sell kettle corn in to get the number of bags on the rack and stuff. We usually do that after church on Sunday nights. And we're on our way back. And when we're leaving the parking lot for that place, I'm driving like towards Highway 99 in Woodburn. So for the listener, that means close to nothing, depending on where you're from. But we're about to like leave this parking lot and get onto a fairly busy road. And this is the way I always go. And, ignore that. Little system sound.
I thought you were just unplugging Jude's microphone.
Did I? No, I unplugged the external hard drive. It doesn't need to heat up right now. No, we're leaving the parking lot and we're like going over. First of all, there are speed bumps in this parking lot that would kill pretty much anybody.
Yep.
Because they are not marked in any way. They're not yellow. There are no lines. There's nothing. They're in an area where I wouldn't necessarily expect there to be speed bumps like adjacent to a parking lot. Like also the parking lot for this place is so weird because it's like there's two main roads and this is like on the corner of one of the main roads, but all the stores like that are in the parking lot are all weirdly like kitty cornered or whatever to each other to make this parking lot like a weird pentagon, hexagon shape kind of, but it's all pretty trashy and there's a lot of potholes and stuff. And one of the roads to get out, there's just these speed bumps. There's no speed bumps in the parking lot like in front of the store, which is usually where they are, so that people don't speed through there and kill people. There's none there. There's none in front of the other stores. It's just on this one little road that drives between like the back of a bank and the back of like a liquor store or something to get to the main road, which to me is the weirdest part because it's like when you're coming in from the main road into a parking lot, usually there's not speed bumps there. I don't know. It's just strange to me. But what makes it worse is these speed bumps are really, 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 really hard to see, like I said. And they're, how those speed bumps that are like really wide if you're like standing on it? So you go up for a while and down for a while. These ones are short but tall. Not very wide, but tall. Does it make
So
sense?
it's just like a curb.
It's kind of like a small curb.
just like thrown in the middle of the
Yeah,
road.
and I always am like, oh, those elusive speed bumps are coming up. I need to watch for them. I always notice the first one. I go over it gently. I notice the next one. I'm like, okay, I saw them both. And then I start to go, and then, I just like, everything hurts because I destroy the car on one of them. But we were slowly going over them successfully this time and walking towards us in the opposite like lane, I guess you could say if there are lanes, is a dude. And where a car would be if they were going to pass us, going the opposite way, he's walking. He's got a backpack on. He's a nice-looking guy. And he doesn't look too shifty. Sometimes there's some homeless people in the area or whatever that kind of look like they might be a little shifty. They might be up to no good. This guy just look. I mean, it's not. I said there might be some.
Yeah.
He's a put together guy.
Yeah, he looked like he was just like a guy walking, to the store. And he was walking into the sun, so he's squinting and stuff, and we're slowly going over the speed bump, and I purposely go, you know what? This guy might appreciate the music we're listening to. And our windows were open because the AC doesn't work on the car. And so I pump up the jams. Now, Jude has been addicted to jazz radio lately, both for the music and I assume the personality of the people.
I'm addicted to jazz.
Yeah. And so
You like jazz?
I think it's more than just the jazz, though. It's the jazz radio, right? Because you love the people.
I love the personalities on that station. 89.1, jazz without boundaries.
Side story. I mean, the other day when we were driving, there was like this old man that was like, he was having such a hard time getting every word out.
Yeah.
And he was like, it was funny, but
That was one of the personalities.
yeah. And you could tell it's like every word was, I mean, I don't mean to make fun of him for it. It's just that like, it was funny to hear a radio personality, be like excited about jazz. And he's like, and next one. Like, I don't know. Jude could probably do a better impression of it, but it was funny. No, we're listening to jazz, so I what, do you want him to do it? He had food in his mouth.
Yeah. I had a whole bite of sandwich in my mouth. Here comes the next song. It's making me remember. Making remembrances.
Yeah. That was it. Yep. No, so back to the actual situation. We're listening to jazz radio because Jude loves it. I turn it up. It's a decent jazz song. And we're slowly going over these death trap speed bumps. And the guy's now passing us. We're passing each other. He looks over at us. And, I'm cool, calm, and collected. I got one hand on the steering wheel, the other hand on the side of the window. Window's open. I look at him. Jazz, pouring out of the flex. The car, and I just give him a nice nod and a smile. And he looks at me and he goes, like, hey, and nods and smiles. And I went, hey, nods, smiles. Then we both turn back to looking straight. Now it's like, it's the courteous thing to do. Now we move on with our lives.
Yeah.
But it was a
Never look
little
at
bit
each other
more,
again.
it was a little bit more of interaction than usually happens in those things. Usually it's like a nod and then you quickly look away or whatever. People don't care. But there was something about the way he did it. Was just a little bit more, that it seemed more friendly. It almost seemed like more of an extension of a social interaction. And I appreciated it. In that microsecond, I thought to myself, I actually appreciated that interaction because it was a little bit more. And then I hear, hey, do you guys want to buy a power converter?
Hey, you guys want to buy a power converter? And he doesn't stop walking. He just keeps walking
He just
forward.
kept
But he's
walking.
looking at us, and he's like,
So then I kind of like hit the brakes a little bit
No.
in the middle of the speed bump. And I was like, what? No, we're good. And then we kept driving. And what?
nothing.
Oh, it took a second to kind of settle in, but we were like, that was so weird. Because, like, the fact that we just looked at each other was like a nice looking guy. It didn't seem like he had anything going on. He's like going to the store. Hey, how's it going? Oh, these guys are listening to jazz. He nods. He goes, hey. I go, hey. And then he goes, you guys want to buy a couple seconds after we had a nice interaction and we both looked away from each other, he looked back and went, do you guys want to buy a power converter? What even is a power converter?
I have no idea.
Other than what it sounds like. Is it like one of those things that you plug into your car so that you can like plug
USBs in?
plugs into it and stuff? Or
I don't know.
I don't know.
or is it synonymous with like power adapter? Like a power adapter is the thing you put in the wall so that you can plug the USB.
Look it up. What's a power converter?
Okay, what's a power converter?
I feel like it's
I feel like it's a part of the car or something.
Yeah, what if it's a car part that like he stole?
like a catalytic converter
Yeah.
because people steal those all the time.
Didn't they find like $2 million worth of those? It is.
It's a part of the car?
No, $2 million worth of those in Portland.
I have no idea.
Oh, some guy had like a stash of catalytic converters. Is that how you say it? Catalytic?
Catalytic, yeah.
The thing that everybody says, like, ooh, don't get your catalytic converter stolen, because I guess it's like the, whatever.
It stops you from
if you're going to
putting
junk
more
a piece of
bad
car or whatever.
emissions out, so cars are required to have them.
Yeah.
After,
But they're worth a decent amount of money too if you steal them and sell them.
Yeah.
But no, there was a guy in Portland. I'm pretty sure it was in Portland, and they found his stash of them, and it was like an obscene amount of money worth of them. Just so many of them. So many really old ones. Yeah, power converters just look like what it sounds like. It can come in a bunch of different forms. It just converts it from one form or whatever into another. So like from the things you plug into your car, and then you get like the outlets, or that you plug into your car and you get the USB, or you plug it into the wall and it gives you USB. There's some like $400 ones that are like 3,000 watt to 6,000 watt peak modified power converters. Oh. Man, maybe he was going to sell us one of those for like dirt cheap, and we missed an opportunity.
Or it's like any type of power to any type of power. So it's like, hey,
But
you
I
want to
mean,
translate
a
your
universal-
persuasive power into physical power?
Oh, you mean like
I've got a bracelet that can do that.
conceptual? Like,
Yeah.
do you guys want a power converter? Do you want to convert your power?
You want to convert
like,
your mind power into physical power?
Yeah. Do you want to be like a Super Saiyan?
No. He did have a fanny
yes.
pack, though. It's worth mentioning.
Yeah, that was worth mentioning.
Yeah. Because
That's probably where he kept the power converter.
maybe it was a power converter.
Maybe they're like those "What Would Jesus Do" bracelets we talked about before, but they just like have like different symbols for power, like
Yeah, different symbols for power.
well, like different electrical symbols for power, and then also like conceptual power, like
Lightning bolt.
yeah, or different things that have
2 lightning bolts.
yeah,
3 lightning bolts.
and then like the black power symbol
Yeah.
and stuff like that. It's like different types of power,
Or like a different kind of power symbol.
like government power.
Yeah, or like I'm trying to think of another color.
Oh no, I didn't even think about that. Whoops. I was just thinking
Let's
of like
see.
we
We
live in Oregon, so it's all over the place. But
Yeah.
the like fist
Yeah.
thing,
Red power, green power,
blue,
Pink power.
red, white, and blue.
that'll probably get cut out. So
It's not gonna get cut out.
no, all right.
It's funny.
So yeah, it was just a weird interaction, and then we like got onto the busy road, and then that's kind of when it set in when we were joking about it. And we're like, man, that was just weird.
But I mean,
weird-
like
it was
in
weird
the
to have-
moment, he could have just been like for what he said. It has the same meaning as if he was going to be like, "Hey, you want to buy a flux capacitor?"
Yeah.
It was
And
crazy.
it's just like
Because it was just so jarring. Because he was like,
what?
Good interaction, and then just like, not that made it a bad interaction. It was just like, hey,
that's the guy's hustle.
you guys want to buy a power converter?
He gives you guys micro doses of good like social interaction
Yeah.
to try and get you
He's a
to
good
buy
salesman.
his stuff.
Okay, so here's my question about it then.
Okay.
Do you think, because I mentioned this to Jude, but do
Yes.
you think he did actually have something to sell? Or do you think that this is a guy, because I could see Jude doing this, or me, depending on the mood I'm in, just walking by an open car, saying, hey, and then being like, do you guys live in Arkansas? Like just something that like makes no sense, you know what I mean? Just to like trip you
Okay,
up.
so what I think is this guy
Not that living in Arkansas makes no sense. I just mean like we're in Oregon, so
for some reason he needs to get rid of this thing and
Power
he needs
converter?
the quick cash.
Yeah.
So he's like he's going to these stores like this area and he's going to try and get someone to buy it. You guys pull up, you have your windows rolled down, you're listening to jazz, and he's like, "Oh, I kind of like jazz." He looks over and he has that interaction, and it wasn't the extra pause wasn't for like the extra pause of looking wasn't to just like be kind or whatever.
yeah.
It was that he was trying to run through his mind, should I sell to them? Should I not? And then you guys started to pull away, and then he's like, "Hey, want to buy?"
Yeah. I'm gonna
And
miss an opportunity.
yeah, and then your car halts, and then he's just like,
Yeah. And then our car's power converter fell and he took it and ran away.
And then he pulls out a blender. Like
he actually
that's
had his
not
that
a power converter.
he was the
He pulls out
distraction.
just like
guys wanna
just
buy
like
a
a
power converter?
simple machine lever.
It's a ninja blender.
Yeah. Yeah. It's,
No,
it's
it's
just a stone
this
wheel
this
power
converts
converter.
potential energy into kinetic energy.
into kinetic energy.
Okay.
It's just it's a gun.
It's just a gun.
I think you want to
Yeah,
buy a
he
power
goes, this
converter.
converts your lack of power in any situation
Yeah.
to giving you the power. Oh, I get it.
And if you don't buy it, it's going to convert your lack of power into my power.
Yeah. Yeah. And all the power you have at your fingertips will be mine.
And also, all the power in your pockets is going to be mine.
yeah.
Okay.
Empty your pockets of their power.
And
please.
if I do this enough
Give
times,
me your power.
If I do this enough times, I might get a few thousand volts of power running through my whole body,
That's a good point.
There you go.
But it was just a weird interaction.
depending on the state.
I don't know how really exciting it was. I just thought it was strange. And it happened on the way to record the podcast. And I was like, well, we kind of have to talk about it now because it was funny. Yeah. That's it. Did anything happen on your way here, Levi?
No,
Okay.
not really.
That's fair.
Oh, well, actually, there was two cars that were racing each other down I-5, and they got in. They were just woo, 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 and they cut in front of me, and I'm in the totally right lane.
Yeah.
And they cut in front of me, and are just trying to weave through traffic, and the guy boxed himself in.
I love it when that happens.
Yeah, I think it's funny.
So then he's just like
I'm just always
sitting
afraid
there
that something
trying
bad
to
will happen.
rev, and the other guy that he's been racing is also trapped in a box just ahead of the other guy.
Yeah.
But he almost hit me when he went by, like that
That's
first time when he locked himself into the box, and then I just slowed down and make sure that the box was contained.
I love
No,
keeping
don't
people in
don't
boxes.
admit no admissions of guilt here.
What? No,
It's not illegal.
I wasn't doing any. I was just,
I
like,
just
watching.
slowed down.
I wasn't part of it at all.
Whoa, Levi.
I was way behind it.
Don't incriminate yourself.
But then I
for
got
the
off
audio
at the exit,
listener-
like 10 seconds later.
For the audio listener, this is totally off topic, but for the audio listener, Levi shaved.
This is true. It did shave.
You can't see it, but you might be able to hear it. But Levi, I'm curious, why'd you do it? Were you getting hot? Too roasty
Actually,
toasty?
it was
Sure was.
because I've been watching Breaking Bad.
Oh. I'm failing to see the connection, but I'm waiting.
No, I just saw Jesse
Shave
Pinkman
his
in
head?
like the very end of the show. Like after he's gotten his life all clean together, he's got like short stuff, like
The end of Breaking Bad.
And I was just
or-
like, huh?
And you really look up to Jesse Pinkman.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
He's
so you were
like
like-
a huge role model.
So you're like, I want to look
I was
like
just
him too.
like, no, I'm gonna try that.
We saw Jesse Pinkman. He's like, to be like him, I can
Face-
either sell meth or shave my beard, and one of those is easier. So shave your beard.
He also did shave his head before
true.
having that. Like,
And you didn't do that, so you're
no,
nothing
I
like
didn't
him.
do that.
Yeah, you're gonna
So
have to.
it doesn't really work all together.
Well, it looks good.
Cool.
It's different. It startled me a little bit, but now that I'm seeing it like throughout, because whenever somebody goes from like or goes with a substantial facial hair change, at first it's always just like, But yeah, it
Do you
looks
know
good.
how to cook meth?
Not yet.
Only on Tuesdays.
I can try and get. Yeah, you're a lot like Jesse.
Oh, because he also doesn't know how to.
Because
No,
Jesse also doesn't start off knowing how to make meth.
Yeah.
Well, he does, but like not very well.
It's not good. Yeah.
He adds chili powder to it.
Does he really?
That's his selling.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
'Cause
his gimmick
he's-
is
He's
chili powder.
the Captain Cook.
Captain Cook.
But, yeah, Breaking Bad, definitely a show we should probably recommend to all our listeners. Right?
I mean, listen,
probably not.
it is a well-written show. But
It is.
There's a lot of intense themes in it, and should
Yeah.
be viewer discretion is advised.
Yeah, that's kind of one of those things that, like, if you know what, I guess you know what you struggle with when it comes to consuming media, and you know where your limits are.
Are you a chemistry teacher who struggles with selling meth?
Yeah, then don't watch
watch
it.
Breaking
You'll be
Bad.
tempted. You'll be tempted.
You'll be tempted.
No, there was something else I wanted to bring up.
Yes.
It was kind of funny. Typically, we have an On Rat with Jude segment, and my understanding is you kind of have a little bit of one. Something you told me on the way here that I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
That
So-
Levi might to be funny, unless you don't want to talk about it. I know it was a little bit
it's
jarring.
Viewers at home
personal.
won't find it funny, but I might, so please tell.
It's a deeply personal thing that happened to me. But I'll talk about it for the sake of the audio listener, not Levi. I was delivering to a store on Friday, and it was a bit hot on Friday. It was a bit
When you start off doing it like that, I just immediately go into like the 1940s audio dramas that's like black and white.
I was delivering on Friday.
I was delivering on Friday.
Everybody use your imagination. The year was 2022. I was delivering kettle corn to a coastal in Salem. It was a hot day. Every time I got out of the nice AC van, I would experience a blast of heat come over my body. And all day, it was a very unpleasant experience, but I had gotten used to it. And I had braved the heat before, so I wasn't worried about it this time.
Relax with us as we hear this.
But something changed this time. See, when I pulled into coastal Salem, as I colloquially call it, and I opened my door, I noticed something different about the blast of heat. Now we're going to pause, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I saw when I pulled into the parking lot. A streak of brown from one end to the other, against the ground, dried up, almost orange. And I thought, gee, what could that be? And I didn't know. Now we're going to cut back to me getting out of the van.
Oh no.
A wave of unpleasant pheromones came over me and overtook my body for a brief moment. And I shook and revolted and cried. It was uncontrollable. For then I noticed, at the end of the parking lot, was a nigh blown-up septic truck. And I realized that this smear of brown against the hot asphalt all the way to the doors to the store was dried septic fluid. And my nose shriveled and my body shook. And the blast of heat was like nothing I'd ever experienced before. It smelled so bad that before I could even make it to the back of the van to grab the box of kettle corn, I nearly threw up. But I powered through, and I thought that was the worst of it. Until I had grabbed the box and began walking to the store. And it was only then that I realized the pavement of the parking lot was not completely even. And my foot landed in a particular spot, in a particular indentation on the ground. And I did not experience the nice dry steps I had before, but a wet one. And it was then that my right shoe was sullied. I don't think I'll ever forget that day.
These aren't the shoes that you're wearing now, are they?
Oh, they are. And I haven't washed them.
You did not wash them?
No. Why would I?
Not even with like water? Or like scrape them in the grass?
That was incredibly
with milk.
calming.
Yeah. That is pretty
That's
much
so
That's
disgusting.
exactly what happened. It wasn't wet, the puddle. It was just a clearly like chalky, something was here. And it's not entirely gone.
As you'll notice,
Why were they just spilling it in?
The truck was like, it looked like it literally exploded. Like
had
it was
the
at
truck
one
like
end
run
of
into the front of the store.
No, there was just literally
The way I'm imagining it,
a trail.
is from the beginning of the parking lot, and then just like lodged into the front of the store.
No, it was on the
blown up.
opposite side of the parking lot from the store, but it looked like it had literally just blown up.
That's disgusting.
The back of like the cab was fine, but the back had just like this clearly what was an exit tube was like all mangled. It was gross. It smelled horrendous. Oh,
I'm sorry for your experience.
that's all right.
I'm sorry.
Pretty
audio
funny
listener.
Pretty funny.
Yeah.
I had a bit of
That's
an
revolting.
en route with Jerry. Just something that happened that was kind of funny to me while I was working, so I'm going to count that as an en route with Jerry. We were doing a catering this weekend. I purposely didn't tell you this, Jude. While we were there, I wanted to, because when funny things happen on the job and you're there, I wanted to. Are you all right there?
Talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
You okay?
listening.
Oh, you were just. Jude was. I
getting
can't
into the
describe the
story.
face he was making without it being problematic, I think. But, and then he was slowly drifting backwards into his seat.
I was
away
letting you
from-
take me away like my story
Oh,
did.
I'm sorry. Okay, here, hang on.
I was letting it, you know.
So it was Saturday, and we were working a catering. Actually, there were 3 just that day alone, and Jude and I were going to be delivering the resources for 2 caterings, and then working one and going back and picking it up later. And that day, a realization occurred, to my father that we didn't have any aluminum foil or bags to leave any leftover food for the customers in case they wanted it. So, Levi, that was why I was going to be gone when you were getting there, to pick up that hard drive. But there was a moment where I thought I was in the clear. we were finishing the food and I could load it up in the van and then we'd have a little bit of time to kill before we had to leave. But no, my dad, he stopped me and said, hey, I need to send you to cash and carry, a food supply store, a restaurant supply store, very close. And so I, now equipped with the keys, loaded up and was on my way. Easy drive, calming, bit of a rumbly road, but in a good way. It leaves you feeling like a bit of a massage. And there's a nice railroad track that you drive over that always makes me concerned that the front left wheel will fall off. But after parking, I got out of the car, and I have this compulsion to always check and check again to make sure that the car is in park. Now, this is kind of an obsessive compulsive moment that you might expect from somebody who has left their car in drive and had their car roll away, but that's never happened to me.
He's lying.
Ever. I just simply have to check and check again with things like that to ensure that nothing bad will ever happen to me.
Uh-huh.
So I parked and I looked through the window.
That's how it starts.
And I saw it's in park.
It's in park.
But every time I do that, I turn and I start to walk to the store. I go, man, but did I see things?
Was it really?
Or did I look, like, was it real? Did I look at it and my mind said, just keep going. It was in park. Or was it really in park? So I stopped. I gave this weird turn on my heel and I like, not crab walked, but I stretched my leg out sideways to go back, because it's one long stride to get back to the window. And so I stopped, turned on my heel, and I just stretched my leg out back to the driver's side door, and then brought my other leg with me. The only reason I mentioned that is because it was a bit of a weird way to move, but not that strange. Because it was one long sideways step. And as I did it, I didn't think anything of it. I looked through the window. Well, there it is.
In reverse.
Nope. In park. And I again thought to myself the same thing I think every time. Jerry, you absolute idiot. Why do you always have to look so many times to make sure that something wrong doesn't happen? And then I turned back and I looked at the store and there was a lady walking right towards me and she goes, chronic knee issues. Or no, she said, long-term knee problems. And I went, I had like a headphone in. And I was like, what? Sorry? And she goes, you have knee problems? And she was like walking by me and I was like, oh, did I walk funny or something? Because only in retrospect did I realize I did that step. Still not that weird though. It's like if you turned around and stepped to the side to look at something. I was like, did I walk funny? And she goes, I can just tell by your gait. You got knee problems, don't you? And then she like kind of stopped and was like asking me, do you have knee problems? And I was like, in my head, I went, Jerry, you have an opportunity to make somebody who feels so confident in themselves and in their ability to feel like a real dummy. And this isn't, I'm not proud of this, but part of me went, that's kind of funny. To be like, this person, you want to know what my mind went back to? It went back to Paul at that horse show, who was like, it's that type of attitude of like, I know everything about you. But like, I'm just so confident. I don't know who you are or anything about you, but I can read you. And to me, it's so funny that those people, because there are like mentalists out there that can look at you and be like, oh, I can see by the way you're dressed and moving that you like pork ribs and you watch the Steelers. What?
Those don't exist.
They do. People that are just hyper perceptive.
Nah.
But what I find to be so funny is when people, are just very, very confident. I think it's just because most areas of my life I'm not hyper confident. I'm always like, well, I'm not gonna just assume that. Especially, well, I should say specifically with people I don't know, because you run the risk of like saying something that makes no sense and making a fool of yourself, or just being wrong, and then them, it just going nowhere, blah blah blah, and it just being wasted time and energy. So when people are like so confident in something and they're so wrong, I think it's funny. And so she's like, she looks at me and goes, knee issues? I went, actually no, but my shoulder hurts a little bit. And then I walked into the store. Because it was true. I didn't have any problem with my knee. It wasn't hurting at all. And she was like, I can tell by your gait you have knee pain, don't you? And I was like, no, but my shoulder hurts a little bit. She was like, oh. And I was like,
And then her eyes began to water, and she fell to her knees.
no,
and
I didn't. I
started
don't think I
bawling
said
and
it in a
crying.
mean way, but to me, it was just funny to be like so.
She got
confident
into
about
her
something.
car and charged off without looking and ran straight
she
into the
smirked.
back of a septic truck.
No, she just call back highest form of comedy. No, she just went. She went, oh, and like smirked a little bit, and then got in her car. So I don't think I did anything wrong, but I don't know. Did I? Was I rude?
Yeah, you're pretty
Oh,
rude about it. Probably could have been nicer. Could have said, yeah.
Yeah, you're a
could've
bad
lied to her.
person.
Yeah.
No, I probably could have been like, oh, I actually don't, but thank you for.
No, I don't think you did anything wrong.
Okay, good.
That's fine.
I think she did a silly thing. You did a silly thing in response.
Well,
that was
no,
funny.
actually, he started doing the silly.
That's true. You crab walked back to your car.
You
I didn't
crab
actually.
walk.
And then she
I'll have to
went,
demonstrate
Why are
it.
you walking like that? And you went,
No, I'll demonstrate it for you. It was not that
I'm
crazy.
not walking like anything. I'm gonna.
I'm
All right.
standing like at for the audio listener. I'm standing looking at my car window,
Jerry's on all fours like a crab.
and then I turned to walk towards the store. So I went like this. I went. Realized I need to check again. Turned. Went like that.
Yeah, so you just for the audio listener, he just crab walked in front of
Kind
you.
of looks like Mr. Crab.
On all fours on my back. On the ceiling.
Yeah. Of the parking lot.
Yeah, it was not that weird. I don't know. People do that all the time.
They do. I like to crab walk.
Yeah.
Dude. I just thought it was funny.
It is funny.
She's like, I can tell by your gait.
yeah.
You have knee problems.
Like, no, but I'm a Pisces.
Like, no, I've never had knee.
No, but I'm a Pisces.
Actually, no, I'm not a Pisces. I don't know what I am.
No, you're
I
like
always
one of
forget.
those cancers.
No, that's
No,
Libra.
that's me.
I'm either Libra or
For
something.
the audio
you,
listener, I am a Cancer, by the way. Just so you know a little bit more about me. So you make
Ravioli
all
or
of those
something like
assumptions.
Ravioli. Though.
Yeah.
You're a raviolia?
Ravioli.
Ah, very cool.
Yeah, but I don't know. I thought it was funny.
When were you born? September 26th? September 11th? What?
September 11th.
September
2000.
11th?
Yeah,
2001?
that's
Was that you?
What? Did I do it?
No, is that when you were born?
I wasn't born September 11th.
Oh.
No, dude. Imagine being born September 11th.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with people that are. My point is that
But like your birthday.
that's got to
is
be a bummer.
a national non-holiday. Like
National tragedy.
national tragedy.
It's like a
called.
day of memorial. Yeah. It's I'm. I don't want to say holiday, but I guess it kind of is. Do you think it's considered a national holiday?
No,
No.
because people still have to work.
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
Well,
Yeah. We don't party for grievers.
wait, that didn't make any sense.
We don't party for grievers.
Well, we don't let grievers party.
You don't.
Yeah.
We
make
don't
them
party in grief.
Sure.
But a lot of people do.
Well, no. But I was kind of making a joke because we force everybody to work. That was
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't imagine having been affected by that, and I feel terrible for the people that are. But
I can't imagine being affected by it because I wasn't alive.
Yeah.
Well, was I? No.
Have we talked about this in the podcast?
How you're such a young.
Well,
No,
hey,
how
you know
our
what?
dad was on a plane when it
I
happened.
was alive.
No, about how our dad. I feel like
weren't alive.
there was
I was
that episode where we talked about the shrink ray, and we joked about
I
being
thought
able to
that
stop
we joked about
9/11.
it, and you weren't alive.
Listen, it happened
It
in
was in
2001.
2001. Jude was born in 2004.
Yeah.
That's right. I wasn't.
2002.
Alive. That's right.
Aren't you 2000? Yeah, you're 2002.
But I'm February, so I was alive.
Wasn't it 2001 that it happened?
I was alive. You're alive before you're
Oh,
born.
he was.
Oh.
He was in womb.
was
I'm
in
sorry.
womb.
I'm sorry. I mean, yes.
He was embryo time.
Yeah.
Party
In utero.
party time before being released.
You say he was in party time?
Yeah.
I just got an image of fetus Jude in a dark, slimy chamber, like. doof.
I mean, it's
I was
the
born
happiest he's
from
ever
tragedy.
been. It was the happiest he's ever been.
That's
He
sad.
knew nothing about the world or sin or evil.
No,
Yeah.
I knew. I was such a patriot that even then I knew something was wrong.
Yeah.
And then on February 24th, I was like, let's roll. And I came
Let's roll.
out.
I'm a little late to the party, but let's roll.
Let's roll.
Yeah,
They definitely shot down that plane. Anyway,
No, have we ever talked about that on the podcast? How
did they
Dad-
shot down the third
Nope.
plane? No.
If we haven't, if we have, I apologize. You're hearing something that's repeated, but
Yeah, I don't think that. I don't.
mine
think
and
so.
Jude's dad
Was on an airplane.
He was on not that plane.
No.
Not
Believe it
any
or
of
not,
those planes. He was just, it was just, I remember, the only thing about that I remember, because I would have been like 3, was just how concerned my mom was. I remember her looking at a TV, watching like the news of it, and being really, and she was calling on the phone constantly, trying to get a hold of him, because he was going down to Georgia for his grandmother's funeral, which,
Beat the devil in the fine line.
yikes, because like, also, everybody was late to the funeral, because it was happening that day, and
I can't
everybody,
imagine why.
yeah, everybody flying in. He was like 4 hours late, but like, or something like that. I asked him about it recently, but yeah, I just remember he was on a plane, and it was just like, he said it was the deadest he's ever seen the freeway, like on the way back from the airport, just like that scene in Walking Dead. There's nobody on, well, except there's not a bunch of cars on the side of it, but like, yeah, it's crazy.
I just remember being locked in my room.
But I'm glad he's
Unable
safe.
Huh?
I'm glad he's
Being
safe.
locked in your room.
In your room, your
unable
dark
to-
little
in my
room.
room. Let me out of here.
Let me out of here.
I want to help.
I want to make sure Dad's okay.
Dad went down to Georgia to
Looking for a soul to steal.
steal.
Yeah. Our dad was looking for a
He was in a
soul to steal.
bind, and he was way behind.
What's that guy's name? Kenneth
Copeland?
Copeland, yeah.
A tube for
Soul's
a demon.
business. Our dad's in the soul's business.
I'm in the soul's business.
Yeah, those were my funny little stories.
Dude, can you imagine, like, actually being now having, like, the freedom at airports that they used to have pre 9/11?
Nope.
Like, you always
Freedom?
see it in movies where they just, like
Walking around.
at
You
the
mean
last
being
minute
less
running
safe?
running up to
Oh, yeah,
the
yeah.
airplane and being
Yeah.
like, no, honey, don't go.
Don't go,
Even
honey.
then,
I
I don't think
love
you could
you.
actually do that, right? There were still security check-ins. It just wasn't the same.
TSA
right?
was practically non-existent before 9/11.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dang.
I mean, it existed, I think.
But it was, like, insanely lax.
Yeah, I can't imagine.
protests in airports were a huge thing. People were...
Yeah. Well, they
of
still
hippies.
are. I mean, when you and I came, or you weren't with me, I'm an idiot. When me and Dad came back from Guatemala, there was a Trump protest or something. People were protesting something he had done, and we were back in PDX, and they were like all over. And we had been warned ahead of time, like, be really careful walking through here because there's rumors that it might get violent. And then when
Hide
we
your
walked
MAGA
through,
hats.
we were what?
Hide your MAGA hats.
We didn't have MAGA hats. No, yeah, coming back from Guatemala. We bought them in Guatemala. They're huge Trump
They're
supporters
very
down in Guatemala. No, when we were coming back, that we were walking through the airport, and we heard them, I think, and we found out that they were in a different part of the airport, luckily. So we didn't actually encounter a whole bunch, except for like 4 people with signs that were like, you know,
oh, I'm so angry.
yeah, Trump hates Arab people or something like that. It was,
Oh, yikes.
it was something like, because it was when he like stopped travel from Syria or something like that. I think.
A few
yeah.
different countries,
Because
actually.
there was
Yeah.
kind of like a
travel ban.
war going on.
It was the travel ban thing, yeah. And because of the war and everything. And so he was like, or so they just said something about like, Trump hates Syrian people or something. And then we just kind of like waved at him and kept going.
No, I never understood.
What?
How do we get Sirius XM out here if it's all the way in Syria?
Very funny.
It's serious.
Syria's, it's apostrophe S, Syria's XM radio.
Sirius XM.
Serious XM.
How do we get that all the way out here?
Okay. There was one other thing I wanted to tell you guys about.
That's true.
On
Tell.
the season 2, episode 1 premiere. I almost said finale.
This is the premiere and finale.
And finale.
This is
of
the end.
episode 1 of season 2. Levi, I guess Jude might already know about this, but our episodes are typical download like levels or whatever. It's like our views. Our first 3 are all like over 150 downloads. Downloads, it just means listens. It's just it's an archaic term for podcasts. So all 150 plus. Then they're about like 80 or 90 for like a few episodes. This is all season 1, of course. And then the next 5 or so like 70s, and the next 5 after that like 60s. And then after that, there's like a couple that are 50, and it drops off after that to be like 35 is the average. So the rest of our season after those, like whatever, 10 or 11 I just mentioned, are all like 35-ish. And there's one that's like 55 in the middle of all those 35s. I don't know why. But episode 22, the one called Merch, Motorcycles, and Mean Ladies, for some reason, in its first week, most of our episodes in their first week get 12 to 18 downloads. and then in their second week they get up to that 30 or so range.
Uh-huh.
By the end of its first full week, it had 122.
Wow.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Now, what's really wild about that is Matt told me about it, and somebody told me about it.
Yeah.
Some guy who also has access to our
Yeah.
podcasting backend. And he was like, check this out, it's weird. And I looked at it, and you can get very specific with the details. So I can see like what apps people are using to download it. So I can, usually Spotify's number one. We have like 80% or 60 to 80% all Spotify downloads. And then I can even look in the area, like if they're all in the US. We have some Israeli listeners. Shout out to our 2 Israeli listeners.
Hey.
And we have a couple people in Canada. But, you know, the crazy thing is that episode and that episode alone, 95 out of those 122 were all Amazon Echo. None of our other episodes even have 1% listen from Amazon Echo. Because it'll tell me if it's like Spotify, you know, Pod Addict or whatever, you know, Google Stitch or whatever they are. But this one, none of our other episodes even have up to 1%. They're all below 1% Amazon Echo. So it's like maybe 1 listen each one. This one had 95 listens from Amazon Echo. So if you listen on Amazon Echo, let me know. Join our Discord and let me know. Or if you're already in there, let me know that you're listening on Amazon Echo. But because for some reason that one was not, it had 95 Amazon Echo downloads. So our prevailing theory is that for some reason, what we named that episode, there must be something else. Oh, and also all of them were from Great Britain and Canada.
Oh.
So, prevailing theory.
Uh-huh.
There must be some show that people were like, hey, Alexa, play blah, 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 blah. And Alexa got confused and played
ours.
our show.
That's amazing.
So I've tried really hard. I can't find, I don't know if it's like something like a motorcycle show or like like maybe the Mean Ladies show, or I don't know. But for whatever reason, it was like playing episode 22.
I mean, it's also got to be something really small if it was only like 95 people.
95 people, yeah. Who like maybe said one word wrong and they got our show, but that episode. I just think it's so funny.
That's hilarious.
So we got this big like burst in listens that week, and we were just like, why is this happening? And we looked, it's all Amazon Echo downloads from Canada and Great Britain. So whatever that show is, if you know, hey, if you are a listener now that listen to the show regularly and you were a victim, I don't know, maybe victim.
A victim.
You were a subject of this situation. Let me know what happened and how, and what show you were actually looking for, because I would love to know. I think that's so funny. But yeah, so we possibly, you know, because that was the other thing we said. We're like, man, this is so funny. At the very least, they probably started listening to it and then stopped. And so it just helped our numbers, I guess. But imagine if we, you know, gained a few lifetime listeners from that little fluke accident. Because then I got to figure out what happened so I can recreate it. But yeah, it was just funny. It's funny. So
It's motorcycles and mean ladies. That's what they were trying to say.
yeah, but that's the exact title of our episode.
No. They say motor instead of motor.
Motor.
Merch, motorcycles and mean ladies.
That was like what's his name?
Merch,
What's his name?
motorcycle.
What's his name?
Larry the Cable Guy?
No, the gentleman. Matthew McConaughey doing a British accent.
Matthew McConaughey doing a who impression?
Yeah,
That actually,
a British accent.
Oh, yeah.
that is actually spot on.
There you go.
But yeah, all right. So enough with the funny little goofs and gaffs. There was something I was wanting to talk about a little bit, which is I've been reading it's like a daily devotional. I haven't found anywhere in it. I don't think that it claims that it is a daily devotional, but I mean that's what it is, and it's called Magnificent Prayer. It was recommended to me by member of the community, Mikey Noodles.
What a guy.
Returning shout out for Mikey Noodles. Solid guy. Love him very much. Had some good conversations with him. And he gave me a great book recommendation. Magnificent Prayer. I forgot the author, but I'll post.
We have to cut out the shout out now.
Yeah, right. I'll have to post it in the under the influence chat after this. But it's really, really phenomenal. Like, I read the preface and like the introduction, and it mentions that like at the end of the book, there's a list of authors that this guy read the books of that like talk about biblical prayer and how prayer should be done as the Christian most effectively and how we should look at it. So I flipped to the back of the book after reading his introduction, which was really good. It talked about like what the book is about, and the book is this. It's a 365-day like daily devotional, but it guides you into learning the importance of, the power of, and like of prayer and how to do it more, I guess, more appropriately, right? And have more out of an appropriate reverence for it. But in the introduction, like I said, it mentions that like he has this list of sources, and it's this small little devotional book. And I flipped to the back, and there's like 12 pages of sources. So this guy, my point is just that like, I guess for a devotional, it sounds like it would be very easy to just write it and be like, these are just thoughts I had when reading the Bible, or like sermons I heard, and so I wrote devotionals about them. But this devotional has like college thesis levels of sources. Jeez. To me, it seemed like that, at least. It was pages and pages and pages of name listed, the books that he read from that guy. And so you can tell this guy, whoever wrote this, it seems like they took years writing it. And it's just a little devotional, but it really is very, very good. And I'm reading it. I never know where to start with devotionals. If you start in the middle of the year, but it's like a daily one. You start at January 1st because maybe it has like a thing that it wants to build up to.
Yeah, it either has like building blocks in the front, or it's like actually
or it's
yearly, like
it's relevant to like the time of year.
To the times of year.
So I read January 1st and August 27th, which I think was the day I started. And I did that for about a week, or like close to a week, where I did January 1st and the day it was, January 2nd and the day it was, until I realized I don't think it really matters so much. And now I'm just reading it like based on the day. It's also a whole lot easier to find what day I'm on if I do it that way. Because if not, it's like I have to put a bookmark in there.
All right, am I on January 26th or January 30th?
Well, let's see. It's September 3rd, so I'm probably on. Yeah, no.
January 6th, dealing with riots.
Very topical.
Wow, when was this?
So on the January 6th entry, they want me to go to the U.S. Capitol and pray.
Ooh.
No, it's really good. So I guess here I wanted to say, if you haven't read it, I will put a link, or like what the book is in the Discord. You should read it. And I also just wanted to like publicly shout out Mikey Noodles for that. It's a great recommendation. I really appreciate it. So thank you for that. But it has me. We've talked about prayer before, and we've talked about how contemplative that each of us have been about prayer in our lives. But I've just got prayer on my mind again. And so I kind of wanted to talk about prayer a little bit. And because it's been a few weeks since we talked about it, and it's another season, I wanted to check in with each of us and see how we are doing in prayer. There was a point where we talked about it and we said, hey, let's try and pray before the podcast. Didn't do that today. We forgot. Maybe we should pray when we're done. But well, I don't think there's any maybe about it. I think it's a good idea.
Yeah.
But we kind of came back to it and talked about it. But I think it's almost more valuable now because we've had a few weeks to kind of forget that we said we were going to come back. So now, because it's not on our mind to be like, oh, we have to do it because we're coming back to it. How have your guys' is prayer lives an appropriate term? I guess. How's your prayer life been? Either one. You can go first. I don't care.
Way better.
Really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I pray. I take opportunities while I'm driving a lot more to pray. In kind of a less meditative form of prayer, obviously, because I'm operating a motor vehicle. But a very...
you don't have your eyes closed, right? Is that what
well, no, I do have my eyes closed, but... no, it's... I don't think it's any lesser than a meditative form of prayer because it's a different format. It's very open, and I feel like I'm just conversing with... it's a good one-sided conversation. Mm-hmm. Or it's a conversation where I'm not looking for or necessarily needing responses. I'm just able to kind of speak to and tell what I would like to. And
I think it's important clarification. When you say one-sided, obviously, I don't want anybody listening to be like,
no, that's why
prayer
it's
isn't
a
one-sided.
good type of one-sided
Yes.
conversation. Specifically when I'm driving praying, because it is just me talking to, not really having a conversation. I'm just talking to him, and I'm relaying, ups and downs, sorrows, and whatnot. And then I get a chance to reflect on that in nights and mornings. I've been trying to do that more recently. A real meditative type of prayer where I just silence or just like music or something, and I just kind of I just classically pray, like I just eyes closed, hands knit, pray.
You want to know something about that I've started doing? Because we talked about this last time we talked about prayer, which was like the classic, like in the children's stories where, you know, you get down on your knees beside your bed and pray. And how I haven't even thought about like that imagery, you know, for like years, because I'm 23. But I remember as like a kid, you know, that being a thing. And I think I did it rarely as a kid. Lately, and it's by no means necessary. But for me, it was like this decision to be like, you know what, I want to be very, what's the word I'm looking for? Intentional with my prayer. And very intentional about like getting away from the world, getting away from, you know, even like my family at home, getting away from everything, getting away from my computer or my phone and any sort of distraction, and just being very, very intentional. And so I tried for a little while, like kneeling at the side of my bed, you know, like a kid again, and just kind of praying that way. And once it was like not weird, because at first it's like, okay, am I just doing this to say that I did it? You know, but I found it to be, I don't know, maybe helpful. Like just kind of like, I think what was more helpful was that I was being intentional in some form rather than to the form specifically. Because what I've started doing now is, since, I mean, most people that listen know, Jude, you and I live in like those little like kind of tiny sheds, tiny home things in the yard of our dad's house. But I've been going outside, or I've been like opening the door and sitting, you know, like that with my dog, and in the morning or sometimes in the middle of the night, and I'll read that book, and then I'll just, because the book guides you through like a topic and then tells you like, you should pray about this topic today. This is something good to pray about. And then in addition to your normal prayer. And so that is my like intentional time of prayer. I pray about, you know, what the thing is guiding me through that day. And then, especially in the morning is when I've been trying to do it. But sorry, Levi, go ahead. How has your prayer life been since that discussion?
I have been forgetting a lot of the time to do it, but when I like am doing something and I remember, oh, hey, I wanted to be praying more. Mm-hmm. I'll actually take the time in the moment to pray, like, whatever, because, like I don't have like actual, I'm not working anymore.
Yeah.
So, I just stop what I'm doing and pray.
That's good.
And then continue. But I've not, I keep forgetting, or like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I hope it doesn't sound like by me saying the ways I've been doing better at it, it sounds like I haven't also been forgetting. I've definitely forgotten times. Like I went a couple days where I forgot, I was, you know, busy trying to get to work quickly, and I forgot to read that book and pray and stuff. So, I mean, everybody's going to, but I've definitely been forgetting as well. But I guess all three of us can't. I mean, I think we can all confidently say, at least then, since that conversation, we've been praying more, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I wanted to come back to it for that reason, because I think if we are coming back to it, now we can only, I think the most logical thing would be that even after this conversation, hopefully we will be more intentional, and we will be praying more as well from this point, and then it will just gradually grow. But yeah, I just think that the way I've been praying has changed. I think this book I've been reading is has been helping. I mean, I would recommend it to the two of you guys if you're interested. It's very helpful. I've also just been enjoying having something small, to kind of read every day, because I enjoy reading and I just have gotten away from it a little bit. But Jude, you brought something up when you were talking about prayer for you right now and the way you've been praying lately on your drives. And it kind of perfectly brought up something that I wanted to talk about today as well, which was something that the guy that preached today at church talked about. And it's obviously something that we know about our relationship with God, but he made a distinction, and he pointed out the fact that Christians have this incredible blessing, which is, the veil was torn. We have open access to God. We can pray. We can speak with him. We can talk to him. He will answer us. And it's this wonderful, wonderful thing. But like that psalm, I think it was in Psalm 71, says, he inclines his ear to us, right? And I loved what the pastor said when he was saying, like, what it's saying there is it's like he's leaning down. And it's not just that we can talk to him and he will hear us. It's that God is leaning down because he's listening for us, because he wants to hear us. And I just found that encouraging, because there's this like common thing that is said, especially to kids or younger Christians. It's like, there's no prayer that's too small, right? But I don't know. I mean, even sometimes when prayers are kind of big, they still feel like, I'm not going to waste my words to God with this. But I think, I don't think they're ever wasted, right? I think that if there's anybody that we should be talking to, just kind of rambling to, or like, and I don't mean to say rambling in an irreverent way. I just mean like to just be talking to constantly and chatting with, and then deeply discussing what is most important in our lives. There's nowhere that we are going to get better answers. So, it was an imagery that I hadn't recently considered, and I very much appreciated about what he said today, which was just, it's a phrase I'm familiar with, but God, is inclined to hear our prayers, and he stoops down like a parent to a child to be on their level and listen and hear their prayers. So.
It's an interesting relationship that we have with God as Christians. Particularly, something that's not really found in other religions is a deity's vested interest and love for humanity, especially in like monotheistic religions. So
and then also still authority, right?
Yeah. In pantheon-based religions, there's maybe one or two characters that, they have such a love for humanity. Yeah. Or then maybe one or two characters that just have a vested curiosity in humanity. Mm-hmm. But it's really rare for any portrayal of God, a god or gods, to really love and care about humanity. And what's so funny is the one religion that is, got it right is the one where God has such a personal relationship with us and wants us to have one with him, that I just think is pretty spectacular. And I find it funny that it's such a rare thing to find in other religious ideas. There's often a just authority with complete irreverence to humanity. And I love that we have that personal connection with him, and that he wants that personal connection. And that, when the veil was torn, it's literally him, as an analogy, just like kneeling down and listening and saying.
I just imagine that, like listening for, waiting for the moment that we speak. It also ties into another sermon. I think it was the sermon before that at church last week, or it was the one before that. I don't remember, but it was the majesty of God, how magnificent and incredible he is. And like those two things tied together. I think the sermon we heard today at church is made so much better than it already was when you tie it together with the one we heard last week. Because last week we heard a sermon about how magnificent and majestic and powerful and huge and incredible our God is. This like incredible reminder is it's, you know that he is all powerful. But it was just, I don't remember what Psalm it was. It might've been 93. I don't know. I don't want to misquote it, so I won't. But, it was talking about how he's robed in majesty, his belt, his belt is strength, and just this like romanticized kind of like beautiful, not romanticized, but this like beautiful depiction of God. And so the sermon was about, his majesty and his glory and how incredible and huge and wonderful and so much bigger than us he is. And when you take that in tandem with this, and then you go, that God, with how small we are in comparison to the vast universe that scientists and humanity is constantly finding is, ever more reaching and stretching out into the cosmos than we even thought it could possibly go. And he is outside all of that and observing it. He's not only doing that, but he is leaning way down to us to hear our prayers and to speak to us. I just think that's incredible. And that wasn't something I had really put, together. And these were two different speakers at church, right? That because our pastor's on sabbatical right now, and they've got these different pastors coming in and speaking to us about Psalms. But I hadn't considered that earlier until now that we're talking about it. But and I don't think those two guys planned that. They're two totally, separate individuals from each other as far as I know.
The guy this week was from out of state. I think he was from Washington.
I think he was from Washington. But to me, that makes today's sermon, it adds a whole nother level.
Yeah, it adds a whole lot that was kind of needed.
Yeah, I mean, I think this was a good sermon. There was stuff that was important to get out of it. But, I think that that is, without realizing, obviously without either of them realizing it, that was kind of a two-parter, I think. Mm-hmm. And it makes it so much more tremendous of a message. But, yeah. Prayer, I guess we haven't revealed anything new about prayer that the listener is like, well, you didn't know this about prayer. But I hope that at the very least, our words about it have been encouraging and will encourage you to pray more. It's an easy thing to say. Pastors and leaders and everybody will say it constantly, which is take time to pray, to read your Bible and take time to pray. And we all know we should, and most of us don't, or we forget. But
I also encourage you to pray differently, especially people who are struggling with prayer, because it's not always easy. It's a lot of the time it's not easy to hear. If you're looking for a conversation, right?
Yep.
It's sometimes very hard to hear that response, and so I encourage people to try praying differently.
Well, we talked about in our finale, right, about praying in a specific way, in hardship, and I think that, it's important that we tie back to that just a little bit, because there are different ways to pray depending on what you're praying or how you're praying. Well, that's kind of redundant, but you know what I mean, right? Depending on the situation you're in, there can be different ways to pray that for different people are more impactful, I guess.
Yeah.
Is that? Am I saying something wrong? Or?
No. I think there's. I think there's merit to just speaking to God, especially if you haven't in a while.
Yeah.
And then there's, I think, a lot of merit to closing your door, shutting the blinds, and just closing your eyes, binding your hands, and just
binding your hands.
Maybe not. Don't bind your hands. Might be a danger. But
maybe
knitting your hands together. Well,
fold your fingers.
Fold your fingers together, and
tie your
just
fingers.
Really, really try and have that conversation. And
that's
not
that meditative, right?
Meditative. Yeah, I think that's a very important word. It's a little new agey. At least it's become a little new agey, I think. But there is merit to a very meditative prayer.
I think it's essential. I think, and I don't think that is what part of this book I'm reading is talking about. And they used a quote in it, and I don't remember the quote, so I'm not going to misquote it. But I do know it was about meditative prayer, and it was a quote by Andrew Murray, who is a theological author, but or a Christian author, but he just talked about how essential it is to get away from any distraction and be isolated and alone. Whatever that looks like, in the backyard, in your bed with everything, all the lights turned off or all your devices turned off or whatever it is, but isolating yourself with God. Because to isolate yourself is never to truly isolate yourself. You'll never be entirely alone. And the purpose is to be alone with God. Yeah. And
that's the key difference between the new agey meditation where you're just trying to be no thoughts at all, when what we're talking about meditation is only focusing on scripture or in prayer with God and trying to only have those thoughts. So when other things creep in, push them away and focus.
Exactly. The focus of your thoughts and your mind is on conversation and contemplation with God.
Yeah.
Right. And I, as a young adult, have not put enough effort into making sure that that is a part of my day. But it is something I want, and it's something I'm going to try to do more, and I have been. And then obviously there is the, throughout your day, the pray without ceasing, the every little thing kind of discussion with God throughout your entire day. But this is something more, and it is, I believe, essential. So, yeah, let's try to do that more, right? I think that all of us can, and I think all of us should. Is there anything else that we wanted to talk about, guys?
In the grand calculus of the universe, God loves you.
Yes. Hey, yes. That's the best version of that quote I've ever heard. In the grand calculus of the universe, God loves you. That's incredible. In the grand expanse of everything that you can barely imagine. You saved what?
I saved MOM.
You single-handedly saved that movie. Or at the very least, you took a line from that movie and made it, I think, pretty cool.
That's from MMO?
No, it's not.
I mean,
it's from No Way Home.
No Way Home.
Where
It's
Dr.
all
Strange
over what.
Yeah,
Doctor
but it's when he
Strange.
says to Spider-Man, he says, in
also
the grand
gets-
calculus of the multiverse,
Their deaths.
yeah, their deaths mean very little or something.
And it was also said to him in Doctor Strange. By
Yeah, that's right. The guy,
leaders.
Baron
That's where he
Mordo,
gets
is
it
like,
from.
in the grand calculus of the multiverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but in the grand calculus of the universe, God loves you. I actually really do love that because it kind of perfectly ties together those two things that we talked about, where God is so magnificent and huge and bigger than us, and we are so small, and yet he loves us enough to listen to us. So, yeah, cool. If there's nothing else we want to talk about, thank you guys for listening. Here's to another season. We're very excited. Thank you for coming along with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And pray more, pray often, and pray with intention. We love you very much.
Hey, chair guy, roll the outro.
Okay. I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.